Welcome back to the 21 Convention 2018 of Orlando, Florida. Our next speaker is known as the Indiana Jones of the Red Pill, the shaman of the manosphere, and he's Amazon's #1 one-star bad boy. Also an artist, above all an artist, seriously. Keep that in mind for this presentation, and help me welcome Goldmund Unleashed to the stage.
Thank you, man. All right, guys. Yes, I am Goldmund. I'm going to be talking about creativity, art, and masculinity today. Very important topic for me because I don't think it's discussed nearly as much as it should be in this corner of the manosphere, red pill, self-improvement, whatever you want to call it. Creativity and art is kind of pushed to the side because I'm going to mention this later, but it's been taken over by another sector that is just kind of pushing the men out. That's what they want to do. They want to push them out. If we look at this image here, this is me in front of the Wynwood Walls. Wynwood Walls are probably the most famous art walk in the country. It's in Miami, in the neighborhood of Wynwood, and this is the most famous wall. And right now, look what's taken over the most famous wall on the most famous art walk in the country. Screaming woman, okay, look at her, she looks like Storm from the X-Men, screaming all this power. Next to her, girl power, waving the flag. Behind my hat, it actually says, grab them by a little picture of a pussy. And then she's screaming, there's some skulls here. And look at this, my favorite part. Woman with a machete chopped off the man's head. So just imagine the genders switched, right? There would be outcries, this would never be allowed, but this is on the most famous art walk in Miami right now. And it's been up all year. So this is kind of what's taken over the modern art world, and art is extremely important to me because expressing yourself in new ways and showing people new ways of seeing the world is how you change people's minds and hearts. Okay, so the artist's role is extremely important in society. That's what we're going to get to. All right, first of all, who am I? Again, like Anthony said, I am known as the Indiana Jones of the Red Pill. Because I do live for adventure, I live for story, I live for telling my stories. I'm first and foremost a writer, mostly creative nonfiction, which is describing reality in ways people can relate to, but it's kind of, you capture those details in life that really touch people. That's creative nonfiction to me. It's reality that is emotionally driven. And so when I write, I try and take my reader on the experience with me. So they experience what I've seen, and I try and live my life just as most adventurous and have fun, the most fun as possible. Also a photographer, I do sculpture. My whole life I've been into the arts, kind of got away from it for a while. Also a teacher, but first and foremost a writer, okay? So creative nonfiction is my specialty. All right, I need to tell a story before I get started on the presentation, because last year, that's me at the 21 Convention last year, and I'm looking at this picture and I see a different person living in a different world. Because last year, exactly a year ago, 21 Convention, it was October, I had a day job back in New York. People didn't know I had a day job, but to live in New York City, it's extremely expensive. So I had a day job to cover the bills. It was a teacher, so I was teaching, taught at a charter school, I taught at a university, and I taught at another public high school. I came home from the 21 Convention. I got back that Tuesday, and when I got back into work, I got an email from the principal telling me, forget it, we covered your classes, come in, I got to talk to you about something. I kind of had an idea because I was waiting to be outed because I had my face out there and stuff like that. So I kind of had the idea. She brings me in, and she says, all right, you've been busted. Knew exactly what she was going to say. So she hands me the form that says, I think the thing was misuse of social media. Made me take down the blog, took down social media, and I was like, okay. And I was kind of on probation. 3 weeks later, I sit in front of the board of trustees, and they've got my book, Art of the One Night Stand out. I knew this was coming, so this was funny to me. Like, I was just like watching them read, and they're reading it, and they're like, looking at me, and they're like, did you do these drugs? I was like, please think of myself as like a rapper, right? Goldmund is kind of my rapper alias. I was like, That's what I was doing, and I was trying to make, and they laughed a little bit, and because they had invited like Fat Joe to the school, Ice Cube came and talked. Like these guys have rapped about that stuff, so I kind of tried to take that angle. They weren't having it. So then, this was probably the funniest part. I also have a website where I do coaching for guys in New York. I promise to take them to the best places. We're going to meet fun girls. We're going to have a good time. The oldest guy, he's looking at the website on his iPad, and he looks at me. He says, "So are you like a pimp?" Like, and then I just started laughing, and they kind of got mad at that too. So then after that, I was let go. Okay, I didn't lose my license or anything, but they were like, "What if the parents saw?" I understood. Okay, so I was let go, but I went to go think. I had some money saved up. This was last October. And I took a trip upstate to go think, because that's what I do. When situations like this happen to me, I kind of remove myself from society, and I went up to the mountains to go start, just to think about my future, what I'm going to do. So as I'm up in the mountains, this is late October of last year, my social media, everything is cut down, cut off the internet. I get a ping from a friend of mine, a text message. He's like, "Dude, check this out." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, and he sends me a link to the biggest photography website, well, one of the biggest, called Petapixel, and it has one of my books, Introduction to Camera Game. It's a total hit piece on it. So that book, the camera game controversy. Most of you guys probably have heard about this. If you followed me at all, of course you've heard about this. But this is my book. I wrote it 4 years ago. I specifically designed the cover to be shocking. I designed it to be sleazy. That's a sleazy photograph, naked legs, weird skull, just threw that in there, and some panties. The sign says, "I want to fuck you." It looks like it's a photo shoot. The lighting's terrible. And it's called How to Seduce Women Through Photography. So I wanted to mess with people when I designed the cover. This was 4 years ago, and the world was a different place 4 years ago, right? It was definitely not the moral outrage we see today. All right, so I designed the cover specifically to do that. But what camera game actually is, it's street photography. So I go up to girls in the streets, anybody I find attractive, go up to them, ask them to write something down. Usually I try and get them to think personally, something to reveal about themselves. So for instance, this girl, I asked her what she thought femininity was. And she wrote down, being in control of your emotions, owning them, and never being too afraid to wear your heart on your sleeve. So then we got to start talking about it. I found out she's an actress. Okay, and that makes perfect sense from her reaction to that. And this is what I love about camera game, is because when you approach the girls like this, their guards are down. Okay, you're doing the art project, and it's so different from approaching like a cold approach at a bar, or if you're on a date. Because if you're on a date with a woman, she usually has the guards up, right? You're trying to put your best self forward, and you aren't really being honest for those first few hours of the date. Right? You guys understand what I'm saying? With camera game, it's like all those barriers are broken down, you're doing the art project, and you get just extreme raw emotion. So that's what I love about it, and I started getting so many dates out of this. It was just unbelievable. That's why I wrote the book, because I want to share this. So another thing I love about it is the dynamic. So I'm in control as the director, okay? The girl's in front of the camera, I'm telling her what to do. She's getting ready, she's trying to look pretty, she's brushing her hair. And she's in her role as a female, listening to my direction. Another thing I love about this, because it sets up the dynamic perfectly right away. Okay, so this is what happened. The controversy continued after I got that ping. This was the website, Petapixel. This is what they wrote. This was the first big article. It got shared hundreds of thousands of times on social media. So many countries around the world wrote other hit pieces on it. I had the CBC News try and interview me about it. And so I was kind of stressed out. But then I saw the book. It was low in the arts and photography, like selling. I sold most of my books from my website. Then I kept an eye on it. Within the first week of November, it had been 1 week, it shot up to number 1. Number 1. Thank you. Thank you. Very proud moment in my life, yes. Very proud moment. But that was the controversy, and that's what you guys have heard about. I've used the fake reviews. Fake reviews started to come pouring in, and I've used them on Twitter especially to find them and just to mess with the people who did them and get my revenge and sell even more books. These tweets sell tons of books. So for example, this guy, A. Bacon, wants my book banned because it denigrates women. He also likes to review the toilet paper he purchases and bites the heads off of green jelly babies because he thinks they are aliens. So this is his review. A. Bacon, this is disgusting. It should be removed from your sale list immediately. Amazon, be ashamed. That's what he wrote. He also wrote, referring to Andrex Classic Clean Toilet Roll Tissue Paper, cleans my bum a treat, excellent price, and Prime delivery meant it won't be caught short. So you know he's ran out of toilet paper before because he's not a smart guy. Also, he reviews jelly babies. Okay, very nice jelly babies, 5 stars, verified purchase. Remember to bite the heads off the green ones. They're aliens, and this is the only way to kill them. I mean, you wouldn't want to eat a live one, would you? It's like, what kind of person does that? So anyway, basically, it's very easy to track them down. If anybody ever leaves a bad review on your product, click their name and check out their review history because it is hilarious. Because they're usually losers if they're doing fake reviews. Actually, they're always losers if they're doing fake reviews. All right, so the lessons learned here. All right, so this was important because I do self-reflection a lot, and I like to share the lessons that I learned. By the way, so all the photos I'm going to use today, I went out last night with the camera. So all the photos you're going to see are girls in Orlando that I just met last night. I think this picture's hilarious. These guys were high as hell. All right, so the lessons that I learned. Number 1, I never really cared for feminism before. Like, I always viewed them as kind of like dog shit on the street. You know, just kind of avoid them, leave them alone, and, you know, gross, they smell, just go away. But this was like the dog shit, you know, took form and started attacking me. So I had to spray it down and get rid of it. So I have a fire now against feminism because they picked the war with me, right? First of all, I basically got fired from the job because a feminist found out I spoke at the 21 convention and said I was like part of the group who hated men. That was the first time. I don't think I mentioned that before, but that was the root. And then the feminists tried to get my book banned. So now I am at war with these people because they're worse than a cult because they have no real beliefs. Their own beliefs are their emotions, and it makes me sick. They're willing to go after people, ruin their lives, ruin their jobs, start rumors about them, and it's just horrible. Also, outrage culture. Outrage culture is interesting because I profited immensely from it, but I also got fired from a job. But I also had to come up with new ways of dealing with things, which thankfully I have. But you can either profit from it or get fired from your job. And right now, like I said before, there is a moral panic running through the population. I've seen this, especially when I go out in the bars, because I've been going out to bars for, I don't know, almost the past 20 years now. And I've seen just, especially now, the men are very, very timid around the women. The women are out running wild, doing whatever they wanted. That's what they want. Actually, don't blame them because they're just running wild with their power because the men are giving them the power. And the men are being timid. So this is what this moral outrage has created. It's almost like there's a gender war going on in the country. Also, with this whole thing, I also learned if you're using the internet, you have to do it very, very wisely. If you're using social media, my generation, what I saw with them is Facebook came along when we were all like in college, and then it just made them, it castrated my generation. That's what I like to say. It took the rebellion, it took the energy, that spirit, because people became afraid to be cast out from the group. And that's what Facebook did. So if you're using social media, if you're using the internet at all, you have to be smart. The people you follow, make sure you're being built up. You don't get caught up in the bullshit. That's very important. And now here I am. I'm fighting this war. I was thrown into it, and here I am. Thank God I survived. All right, on to the topic at hand. One second. All right, what is an artist? Okay, this is, it's one of those words that's been thrown around a lot and kind of lost its meaning. But to me, what I'm going to refer to it as here, an artist is a person who does something very well. They do it with their unique vision, and they do it in their own way. It doesn't have to be a person who sits around painting pretty pictures, because a lot of people, they have that view in mind when they think of an artist. There's somebody who makes you see the world in a new way. and they can really change the way you think about things. And they're very, very powerful and very, very important because, like I said, they reach people's hearts, all right? And that's what an artist does. Logically, men are very logical. That's why especially this part of the internet loves the logic, right? You know, you have the lists, this is how you do things, this is how you work out, this is how you do this. But it's not really reaching the heart, and this is what an artist does, and it really stirs it up. So that's them, and that's why they're important. I would consider people like Elon Musk. He's an artist, he's a CEO, but he has his own vision. Michael Jordan, I think he took the sport of basketball definitely to an art because he did it all on his own. He was doing his own thing, nobody had ever done it before, and you watch him play basketball, and it's him, and he's just poetry in motion. So he's also an incredible artist. All right, what happened to art? Why did the ugly and profane get pushed to the front and the beautiful get pushed behind?